The real drama doesn't always happen between 9 and 5. This is the 5 to 9 podcast, Untold Stories from HR. It lives behind front desks and fake smiles, in break rooms that feel too quiet, inside spreadsheets with just enough error to look like carelessness. This isn't the story of a hardened criminal. It's the story of someone you trust, someone who remembered your birthday and still stole from you on Tuesday. Some betrayals happen in boardrooms. Others, they happen between Costco lemon bars and petty cash withdrawals. This is episode 2, Petty Cash, Major Betrayal. Linda worked at Bayview Family Dental in a sleepy New Jersey suburb where the same families have lived for generations, and the cashier at ShopRite still asks you how your mom's doing. She'd been there for 22 years. Office manager, bookkeeper, keeper of birthdays. She knew every patient, every child's name, every allergy. People arrived early to appointments just to say hi to her. Linda was the first one in and the last one out. She handled insurance claims, payroll, inventory, and petty cash. If something needed fixing, filing, or finessing, call Linda. She brought in lemon bars on Monday mornings and donuts on Wednesdays. She knew how each dentist liked their coffee. Sure, the dentist ran the practice, but that practice operated in Linda's world. What they didn't know was that she was also running a second set of books. It started small, as most embezzlements do. She reimbursed herself for printer ink and office supplies twice. She paid the plumber $175 and logged $200, keeping $25 for herself. And once the front desk fell behind in tracking petty cash withdrawals, Linda started helping herself, just a few dollars at a time. Not that it mattered. The front desk girls were young, overwhelmed. Did I mention they reported to her? $3 here, $9 there, $14 one time for disinfectant wipes. No one noticed. No one would question Linda. Not the young hygienist who was afraid of her. Not the front desk girls, barely 17, juggling after-school shifts and Instagram reels alongside appointments for cleaning and Invisalign. They wore matching scrubs, shared lip gloss, and spent more time debating TikTok filters than tracking receipts. They weren't watching Linda. It always starts small. Linda started creating fake vendors, one named Oral Tech Supplies, which was just a P.O. box registered in her sister's name. She approved payments to herself through dummy invoices for non-existent mouth guards and fluoride kits. For supplies and materials she actually ordered, she'd shred the original invoice, print edited versions, and file those away. Over 5 years, Linda stole over $200,000. The first real crack showed when Linda was out unexpectedly after a minor car accident. Since everyone adored her, the front desk girls thought they'd help out. Just a small supply order, light snacks for the break room, 2 reams of printer paper, some sticky notes, and some pens. They clicked pay, and the company credit card declined. And that's when the questions started. And once they did, they unraveled everything. Brad, the youngest partner, fresh out of dental school and still the only one who knew how to navigate QuickBooks and Excel, offered to take a quick look. What he found didn't add up. Payroll reports that didn't match, invoices found on supply portals that didn't match which was filed in the office. Brad called his dad, an accountant with a nose for fraud and a deep mistrust of paper-only bookkeeping. By Monday, he was back in the office with a cup of coffee, flipping through manila folders and side-eyeing Linda's filing system. It didn't take long, duplicate invoices, vendor names that led to nowhere, a $700 charge for specialized ultrasonic cleaner cartridges that never arrived because they didn't exist, receipts for catering at an office that hadn't hosted a single lunch and learn in 2 years. Brad's dad didn't say much, just circled a few things, closed the folder. Looking over his eyeglasses, he muttered, "You have a problem." Linda came back the following Monday, moving a little slower, neck brace fastened loosely over her turtleneck. She brought in bagels from her favorite bakery, her usual peace offering after time off. But something had shifted. The front desk girls avoided eye contact. Brad barely mumbled hello. Linda noticed, and of course she did. She asked Brad casually, "Is something wrong?" He smiled and said, We've got it under control. That afternoon, she went into her office and stayed there for hours, door closed, radio playing softly. The next morning, Linda returned to open the office like she always did, keys in hand, cardigan buttoned to the top, balancing a tray of iced coffees from Dunkin'. But something was off. The door was unlocked, the lights were already on. The three dentists were there, waiting. They weren't supposed to be. It was her day to open early. They shouldn't be there, not all together. She barely had time to set the coffees down before Brad stood up and said, "Linda, can you come back into the conference room?" His voice was flat, professional, stranger-like. Inside, the two other partners and a manila folder sitting in the center of the table, thick with printed spreadsheets. The office attorney was also seated in the corner, silent. What followed was less of a confrontation and more of a controlled collapse. They asked her about specific charges, vendors that didn't exist, duplicate payments, personal expenses masked as office supplies. Linda didn't argue. She didn't flinch. She just sat there, her hands folded in her lap, saying, "I didn't plan this. I forgot my wallet once and took $20 from petty cash to grab groceries. I meant to put it back. I did." The room stayed quiet. "But it was so easy," she said while she looked up. "No one ever checked, and I kept thinking, just this once, just this one thing. I'll stop next week." Some days taking money for gas, then a pair of shoes she couldn't afford after her car was broken down. Then a vet bill for when her cat got sick. Small things, things that she justified in her head. But over time, the amounts grew. And with it, so did her confidence. She learned how to tweak invoices, which vendors no one ever called, how to label things just right so they didn't raise flags. She perfected using Adobe, that the dental office was paying for, to edit invoices. "It didn't feel like stealing," she said. "It just got out of hand." And then she said the line that landed with a weight no one in that room would ever forget. "You never noticed." Inside the conference room, the partners didn't yell. They didn't threaten. They offered Linda a way out. If she cooperated, if she helped track every dollar, explained every fake vendor, every fake invoice, and signed a formal restitution agreement, they'd handle it quietly, with dignity, internally. No police, just accountability. They were family, after all. Linda agreed. She signed the document immediately. She said she wanted to make it right. She said she felt terrible. Then she got up, straightened her collar, and asked if anyone wanted one of the Dunkin' coffees she'd brought in that morning. It was actually surreal. Over the next few days, everything looked normal. Linda working quietly at her desk, answering phones, logging patient appointments. You'd have thought nothing happened. As the week wound down and Friday morning arrived, the door to her office was open. Her chair was empty. The drawers cleaned out. Family photos were gone. Linda was gone. No notice, no goodbye. The turn of events angered the partners, and so they filed a police report. We'd given her a chance, they said, to make it right, to pay it back, and instead she disappeared. A few days later, she was found, and it wasn't a high-speed chase, and it wasn't dramatic. It was Sunday morning Mass at St. James Parish. Linda, a longtime member of the congregation, was at the front, serving as a Eucharistic minister just like she did every Sunday. The officer didn't make a scene. He stood quietly in the back, waiting. When Mass ended, Linda locked eyes with him. She didn't flinch. She didn't ask why he was there. She walked over calm, steady, and said, "Are you my ride?" He nodded, and she replied, "Well, I knew this was coming." She handed her keys to a fellow parishioner, clasped her hands together, and walked out beside the officer like it was a walk she rehearsed. No cuffs, just quiet. Meanwhile, back at the office, things were still tense. No one said her name. The framed photo from the staff picnic where Linda was front and center was quietly taken down. Things slowly got back to normal. The front desk girls continue scrolling in between patients, talking about nail colors. For what seems like months, patients asked what happened. Some even brought it up in the chair mid-cleaning. The partners worked swiftly to restore normalcy. They hired a business consultant, installed a cloud-based finance system with approval levels, and had cameras installed in the office. Payroll was outsourced, and petty cash was eliminated entirely. But the biggest change wasn't procedural, it was emotional. The practice had always been warm, familiar, trusting. That trust had been stolen just like the money. And trust doesn't get replaced with a policy update. It gets rebuilt slowly, quietly, one patient at a time. You've been listening to the 5 to 9 podcast, Untold Stories from HR, because sometimes the person who brings in bagels, remembers your birthday, and keeps the office running is also the one draining it behind your back. Linda didn't storm in like a villain. She moved quietly. Soft cardigans, warm smiles, and a folder full of falsified invoices. Linda stole more than money. She stole confidence. She stole routine. She stole the idea that the person you trust the most couldn't possibly be lying. And if you'd like to know the worst part, her lemon bars that she brought in, the ones that people raved about, the ones she said were her grandmother's recipe, they were from Costco. Next week, I'll bring you another story. Until then, ask questions, audit everything, and remember, if someone's too good to be true, they might be baking lies into your dessert.